Liminality, a suspended time of sacred nothingness, is a secret desire I carry deep in my being. I am forever longing for liminal space, that space in between here and there and nowhere, where I no longer know who I am. This is how I grow and change. This is how I become more of who I am. As a child and young adult, liminal experiences were plentiful, naturally occurring in nature. At the Arnold Arboretum, when I climbed a tree and became one with it. With good friends, when we stared into one another's eyes for so long, we transformed into other beings. During sleep, when I would witness myself leaving my body and floating above it. Sometimes I would spontaneously find my sense of self dissolving, my mind surrendering to some unknown field of energy, whence I would eventually emerge transformed. I still have these experiences, but not as often as I wish. Liminal from the Latin means threshold. We can experience liminality in a physical space. That uneasy feeling of being hyper aware and uncertain, maybe even unsafe. Have you ever walked through a city very late in the evening? Or just missed the train in an underground subway station? Or been alone in a beautiful building or museum? Or been somewhere strange in the natural world? Somewhere where the space feels out of its normal context and purpose and puts you on the threshold of two different realities. This experience of interdimensionality is often used as a powerful setting for storytelling, beginning with one of America's first short stories, Rip Van Winkle. Some of our favorite short stories portray the heroic figure leaving the safety of their home and traveling into a dangerous and bizarre otherworld. Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, Morpheus in The Matrix, Diana in Wonder Woman, Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, Jen Yu in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, all experience what Carl Jung calls individuation, a movement through liminal space and time, from disorientation to integration. Our lives may not be as dramatic and magical as a book or a movie, although things do sometimes feel like a horror flick. But this idea of leaving something safe and entering an unknown, scary landscape is something we have all experienced. Moving into a new home, getting married, becoming a parent, graduating from school, getting divorced, losing or leaving a job, retiring, aging, experiencing the loss of a loved one, or being in the process of dying. The ultimate liminal space can leave us betwixt and between. We have left what was or what was taken from us, but haven't yet inhabited what's next. When is the last time you experienced a liminal change? Probably last night, if you slept. Sleeping is a liminal space we hopefully enter every evening. We may sense liminality in the early morning when we are floating in and out of sleep. Deep in the night, we may be dreaming, unsure of where we are or what is real. Yet as daylight calls us back into three-dimensional awareness, we re-enter the linear world of structure and form. 19th century Belgian folklorist Arnold van Gennep says there are 3 stages of liminality during rituals and rites of passage. 1, the ending of something or the separation from ordinary life. 2, embodying the margin or limin, a state of limbo or the unknown where there is potential and possibility. 3, reaggregation, returning to the secular or mundane world with transformed awareness or an altered state of consciousness. These stages also apply to regular life transitions. However, in seasons of waiting, this crossing over space where we have left something behind and are not yet fully in something else can feel perilous and create anxiety. As a result, we may dig in our heels and avoid making a transition. We will stay in the lousy marriage, wait a few more years before moving, put up with the oppression from our employer, or postpone our retirement until we have more money. When we finally do enter a transition, many of us will try to get through it as quickly as possible, leaping to what's next so we can feel comfortable and sane once again. This is a mistake. Liminal space is vital to our well-being as it shakes us out of our habitual lives into different realities and perspectives. Some native people call this crazy time, as this waiting and wondering can bring us face to face with our deepest fears about who we are, how we show up in the world, and where we are going. Liminal space invites us to surrender to the unknown so we can experience something new. It requires trust and letting go, allowing parts of who we are to dissolve. It means releasing the past because we cannot see where we are going if we keep looking back. It means arriving in the essence of our soul, which is true and pure. Liminality requires us to be vulnerable, experience our losses and disappointments, but then open ourselves to the unknown so that we can enter the divine and find strength. There's a place in the soul where you've never been wounded, wrote the mystic Meister Eckhart. There's a place in the soul where you've never been wounded. This is the place we are all seeking. So what needs to dissolve in you right now to find this place? This week has been hard for me. I've been with 10 family members all together for many days. It's been very challenging. The older I get, the more I want my alone time, and I wasn't getting very much of it. And I don't have access to my usual spiritual practices that keep me sane or help me enter that mysterious landscape to travels. And I really wanted to have one of these experiences this week so I could share it with you today, right? No ego here. But that's not how spirit works, right? So a few days ago, I just gave up and I was on the beach, Muir Beach, which is beautiful. All 10 of us were on Muir Beach. And I just laid down on the sand And I just tuned into the surf was immense, and I turned into those crashing waves, and the sun was shining on my face, and just started to breathe deeply. And it happened not immediately, but as I watched my breath and listened to the sea, and I really entered that unknown well in my heart that I had been really avoiding all week. Finally, this spring started to bubble up. And what came up was grief and sadness for the world. But then I felt free. The truth is that many of us have been in liminal space for quite some time because of the virus. We can choose to fight against the liminal space and struggle, or to flow with it by listening, sensing, and responding. Our transformation and evolution as human beings requires us to enter liminal space time and time again. Perhaps as a species, we have all been avoiding liminal space. Theologian Richard Rohr believes, quote, "The unique and necessary function of religion is to lead us into this crazy liminal time. Sadly, this is not always the case." He continues, "Instead, religion has largely become a confirmation of the status quo and business as usual. Religion should lead us into sacred space where deconstruction of the old normal can occur. The earth knows better. Perhaps our great mother, with all of her wisdom, is inviting us into collective liminality, so humanity can transform into something new and sustainable. This time is calling into question the very core of our beliefs, practices, and identities. What are you questioning right now? So how do we navigate this crazy liminal time? First and foremost, we must make friends with liminality. Allow ourselves to have our feelings of loss, grief, sadness, anger, shame, and move out of that familiar negativity. And we can't settle for more of the same. And sometimes we may need to find someone to wait in the space with us so we don't feel so isolated in liminality. We can write or sing or paint or jog or garden or meditate or sit with a tree. We can stay curious and positive. We can find heroic figures who have survived challenging liminal times. And perhaps we can use our community, this community, as some of you have sort of mentioned, to become friends with liminality. We keep showing up and engaging with each other, trusting we will find our way. Because liminality requires faith. Faith that there's something beyond our wounds and the wounds of the world. Faith that we are truly not alone, but are held by something greater and wiser than us. And if we take time to pause, we will encounter this energy, whether it's our ancestors, God, universal consciousness, our great Mother Earth, or humanity itself. And if none of this feels doable or interesting or logical, and we wish to simply maintain equanimity in what Buddhists call the bardo, the time between death and rebirth, we can follow the advice in Dan Alberghetti's poem, Things to Do in the Belly of the Whale. Measure the walls, count the ribs, notch the long days, Look up for blue sky through the spout. Make small fires with the broken hulls of fishing boats. Practice smoke signals. Call old friends and listen for echoes of distant voices. Organize your calendar. Dream of the beach. Look each way for the dim glow of light. Work on your reports. Review each of your life's 10 million choices. Endure moments of self-loathing. Find the evidence of those before you. Destroy it. Try to be very quiet and listen for the sound of gears and moving water. Listen for the sound of your heart. Be thankful that you are here, swallowed with all hope, where you can rest and wait. Be nostalgic. Think of all the things you did and could have done. Remember, treading water in the center of the still night sea, your toes pointing again and again, down, down into the black depths. So let us dive into these liminal spaces often and stay in them as long as possible. This time is so sacred. The old world is falling away, and a brighter, more expansive world is being revealed. Let us not be trapped in normalcy. Without liminal spaces, we idealize normalcy, which is what got us in this predicament. I love this quote by Brené Brown. We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. To stitch a new garment, to create a new life and a healthy, just, sustainable world, we must welcome liminality, where the spirit of life is alive, where the holy dwells, where our souls are not wounded and freedom is possible. All transformation begins here.